First of all, thank you for the opportunity to see cooperatives in action in Brazil. It's really a great honor, and I'm very excited and looking forward to this immersion. Yes, indeed, cooperative business are business models that are I would say, an alternative to the traditional profit-driven enterprise. Cooperatives have the sort of double bottom line of economic bottom line and social responsibility. And so I think that's really the special characteristics of a cooperative and also the advantage of the cooperatives. And that's the reason why the United Nations really puts energy and political capital to promote cooperative business model. Yes, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, DESA, is part of the Secretariat of the United Nations. In general, we support member states of the United Nations in doing their job, their work, that is setting global standards and norms in many spheres, right, including economic and social development areas, and also, obviously goes beyond economic and social development. But DESA's primary responsibility is in economic and social development. Then you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 of the goals, I would say most of them are social economic development. And even the ones that don't directly speak to social economic development, they are really interlinked to social economic development. Or social economic development are really the foundation for sustainable development. In that sense, our department really, from three different angles, we work. One is to support member states, as I mentioned, to set global standards and norms. That's called intergovernmental work. And we also provide policy analysis of social economic development to promote the Sustainable Development Goals. And thirdly, we also have a component of capacity development, that is a group of technical colleagues who provide support directly to countries in their national development efforts. Those are the three sorts of different ways we do it. Then, of course, specific to the Sustainable Development Goals, we also, one of the things we do to promote those goals, obviously, is through our own work, to raise awareness. And also, in supporting member states, we also help member states to achieve those goals. And finally, we also work with member states to monitor progress on those goals and really mobilize global cooperation and support to promote sustainable development goals. And cooperatives, as I mentioned, as a business model that has a very strong second bottom line of care for the environment and community, so that we do see cooperatives being a very important force for sustainable development in terms of meeting many of the development goals. When it comes to cooperative contribution, we know that first there are cooperatives who directly work in sectors and activities that support, sustainable management and utilization of natural resources. Second, I think that even the cooperatives who are not directly working in those areas, because of their care for community and for nature and respect for nature, they actually also contribute to sustainable development in that environmental dimension. I also want to mention that cooperatives, the kind of process that takes place at the UN, such as COP29, also relates to another part of the UN, that is the high-level political forum, right? Actually, this year, 2024, one of the areas the high-level political forum is going to review in depth is the climate action. So in that sense, 2024 is a very important year for environment. And then, again, cooperatives are very much part of the global actors that make it happen. And then in terms of participation, many of the major UN events provide opportunities and platforms for civil society stakeholders, including cooperatives, to present their good practices and and to also network with others. So those are, I would say, that is also an opportunity for the cooperative sector, and I hope to see active participation from cooperatives. Okay. Yes, this I should say I'm very proud that our department has a direct contribution to the international year. The way it works in the UN is that my department, every other year writes a Secretary General's report on the role of cooperatives in social development. In the last report we presented to the General Assembly, we made a recommendation. Maybe the General Assembly should consider having another international year, because there was one in 2012, right? So the General Assembly took our recommendation, and through member states negotiation and all that, led by Mongolia and also Kenya, and supported by many other countries, the resolution of the General Assembly proclaimed a second international year. So that's the process side. In terms of what to look forward to, I think number one, again, raise awareness, and number two, really we would like to see countries implementing more legislative and regulatory, let's say, reforms to support cooperatives, and also not only to have new legislations, but to enforce what's already in place, right? And third, of course, we also would like to see cooperatives sector take this opportunity to grow their business and to become more successful and even stronger force for economic and social development. Well, first, just to say, in terms of the environment, right? Back in 2012, we were still kind of in the last leg of the Millennium Development Goals, right? And then in 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals and under the 2030 Agenda became the Global Development Agenda. So in that sense, there's a change in terms of, I think, even the thinking, right? If you compare the SDGs with the MDGs, I think there's much more emphasis on integrated approach to development. And the second is that the SDGs really emphasize the idea of leaving no one behind, so that all the SDGs are not met until, for every country, for every subset of the population, those goals have been met. So that's a very crucial difference, and I think it's a very important difference to keep in mind in terms of the two, the years that we have gone through. Of course, what's not changed is the overall objective, and I think that the goals and the principles, the values that we are upholding are not changing, but maybe the way we do things, the way we think about how we best do things have changed, have evolved based on learning from past experience, right, with new technology. So that I would say that's where we are in a different place, so to speak. But I think for the international year, we are looking forward to taking advantage of new tools and new platforms. Like social media now is a very big thing, right? In terms of raising awareness, obviously that's something that we can do better. And also I think that I mentioned that learning from our experience. So I think that's also a opportunity to build on our understanding of the past years, what worked and what need to be improved and how we can do things better. And I think that's overall, having the second international year is, we see it as a tremendous opportunity, and then we hope that to work with our cooperative partners in this year to make even bigger contribution by the cooperative sector. Yes, that's a very good question. And I think that, first of all, in 2025, in addition being the year for cooperatives, it's also the year there will be a World Summit for Social Development, second World Summit for Social Development. I think, taking those two things together, there's also going to be the fourth UN Conference on Financing for Development. So lots of things are happening in 2025. For good reason, right? I think, both, all those three things I mentioned, I think cooperatives can really play a very, very active role and to contribute. Just mention that before major UN conferences nowadays, it's a very standard practice to have this pre-summit action weekends or whatnot, where they really want different stakeholders to come in to express their concerns and their views, and also to showcase their good practices. So I think here I really want to emphasize that those are opportunities the cooperative sector should take advantage of to further raise awareness and to also to have greater impact on the global stage. Having said that, I think that 2025 is 5 years away from the deadline of the 2030 agenda. And we know that from what we have seen so far, unless we can accelerate progress, the SDGs are not going to be met by 2030. So in that sense, I would see, kind of looking forward, I will have at least two steps. The first step is to really look at what we need to do, right, to accelerate progress in all those development goals and to take care of the environment, to make progress. At the same time, to really make a significant dent on poverty, extreme poverty and hunger, and also to reduce inequality in our societies, right? On all those fronts, we need to accelerate progress. That's the immediate kind of action we need to look beyond 2025. And that's very action-oriented. And then the second point is that we look even beyond 2030, right? Because SDG has a target date, but the world and development doesn't stop in 2030, right? So beyond 2030, what do we want to achieve and what will be our goal, our vision for the future? I think this is, if I can say that it's not an exaggeration that 2025 is really a very important year, both for what's happening in the UN on the global stage. At the same time, I think it's also time for us collectively, we people of the planet, to think collectively beyond 2030 and what kind of world do we want, what do we need to do to work toward that future that we want. I know it's not easy, but it's really up on us. Nobody else is going to be thinking for us. So, and I think that's just to say that it's a opportunity, but at the same time it's a challenge. And I think it's never too early to think about such things and to be forward-looking. And so in this, I think again, I personally, and I think the United Nations as well, really see cooperative enterprises as a very important partner in this effort. We really look forward to work with cooperatives not only in Brazil but in other countries as well.